Welcome to Intelligent Investor Insights with Joshua Barone and Robert Barone, your co-hosts and guides through the noise of today's markets. Here, we interpret the data behind the headlines, break down what's driving the economy and interest rates, and help serious investors make decisions rooted in clarity, not emotion. If you're looking for disciplined, research-driven insight to strengthen your portfolio, you're in the right place.
All right, let's get into it. The Taiwan Strait, there's this popular idea that it's been stable for years, like nobody wants to rock the boat, right? Well, that status quo is mostly marketing spin at this point. What we're looking at now isn't so much strategic ambiguity, it's, what's the phrase I want? Managed friction. That's what Beijing is engineering, and it's a whole new kind of pressure.
Totally. I mean, it's not just a bunch of ships doing laps in the strait anymore. You've got these autonomous submersibles weaving around, and the PLA isn't just showing off, they're orchestrating psychological warfare. That creates this permanent cloud of uncertainty over the whole global commons out there, makes shipping lanes twitchy, makes all of Asia's supply chains nervous.
The danger is we're all pretending the old rules still work. Meanwhile, Beijing's encirclement and these gray zone games are eroding global trade flows in real time. There's no real stability, just a slow, relentless push. And if you're in markets, you ignore that at your peril.
So, speaking of not ignoring things, Justice Mission 2025, China's enormous live fire drill last month. That was Beijing demonstrating it can basically flip the switch and do a quasi-blockade around Taiwan on command. 10 of those rockets landed within Taiwan's own contiguous zone, which is honestly unprecedented. That's how you kill 857 flights in a day, displace over 100,000 travelers. It's not just saber rattling. It's, can we shut you down logistically?
Economic coercion in plain sight. Look, the technical term might be joint domain control, but what it actually means for the world is we're seeing logistics weaponized. They proved they could choke Taiwan's connectivity, and nobody did much more than tweet about it. And that's only going to encourage more of this hybrid conflict. If that isn't baked into your supply chain analysis, you're already behind.
Right. It's the friction that's the feature, not the bug.
But if you want a headline grabber, look across the globe. Operation Absolute Resolve. Delta Force waltzes in, grabs Maduro and his wife at gunpoint, bounces them to a Navy ship, 30 minutes, 7 explosions, and regime change hits fast forward. That's what you call a kinetic demonstration of U.S. appetite for action.
Yeah, the U.S. doesn't just talk tough about malign actors. Trump's team basically said, we're running Venezuela now, at least for a transitional phase, because those oil reserves are too important to leave to chaos.
Sure, they stabilize the oil, but let's be clear, this sort of intervention isn't sustainable at scale. Besides, shakes up the whole idea of global energy security, raises legal questions too. If this is the bar, what's next? Where's the end game?
This is where it gets, well, almost philosophical. The U.S. enforces primacy in its hemisphere, classic Monroe Doctrine logic. But now the world's watching. China's saying, okay, if you can do this in Venezuela, we'll do the same in our neighborhood. Suddenly, Taiwan isn't just an island. It's a statement, right?
I hate to sound like a Cold War revivalist, but the symmetry here is real. You take down Caracas, Beijing ratchets up against Taipei. It's tit for tat, and every power justifies it as defending the homeland. Till the rules blur so far, sovereignty just means who can enforce what, where. We've been here before, but this cycle feels like it's spinning faster. The limit, we haven't found it yet.
Now toss Iran into the mix. The reals collapsed, protests everywhere, and Trump makes it explicit. If the regime kills peaceful protesters, America intervenes. Locked and loaded. That phrase, gotta admit, it lands different now that people have seen Maduro lifted out of Caracas like a trophy.
Yeah, the barrier of fear is cracked, maybe even broken, for regimes in that crosshairs club. Tehran's leadership has to take that kinetic threat seriously now. And as uncomfortable as it sounds, that sort of risk isn't isolated. It seeps right into the cost of oil. In fact, when you wonder about a price floor, that's it. Political risk hardwired into the barrel.
That's a good point. The fear premium isn't just tabloid fodder, it's the new base case.
Now let's talk about the marinara. Old school flags of convenience used to be about slipping taxes or labor laws. Now, tankers running from the Coast Guard slaps on a Russian flag with spray paint, suddenly claims Russian port registry. That's sovereignty laundering, plain and simple, except this time, Moscow backs it up. Washington's left to call the ship stateless, while everyone else's tankers wonder if all you need is a can of paint and a radio.
It's creative, if terrifying. You get this nuclear-backed shadow fleet weaving around sanctions, insurance out the window, and like you said, the force shield isn't just an idea. It's a risk model regular shipping can't compete with anymore.
Right. You think you're long oil, but forget that the route matters as much as the barrel now. That's the new world order.
Japan's response to all this? No more fence sitting. Prime Minister Takaichi openly calls a Taiwan attack a direct threat to Japan's survival. And that's more than just talk. Tomahawks on Japanese destroyers, defense budgets blasting past 9 trillion yen, moving the arms spend goalpost up by 2 years. That's a pivot from shield to spear.
It's a colossal doctrinal shift. Post-war pacifism out the window. And if you look at Nikkei defense stocks, you can see the market starting to price this in. For investors, that's not just a headline. It's an emerging structural theme, and it shifts the defense industrial landscape in Asia.
Yeah, it's a whole new asset class with real geopolitical tailwinds. I mean, Japan spent decades as a sleeping giant. Somebody poked it.
Let's get straight to the keystone, semiconductors. TSMC isn't just a company, it's the backbone of the global tech supply chain. 72% of global chip foundry market. Think about that. Almost all advanced chips to run AI, data centers, industrial systems, whatever, trace back to Taiwan.
Yeah, and if a crisis knocks out Taiwan, if China even manages a peaceful integration, suddenly you've got 92% of cutting-edge chip output at risk. That's not just a supply chain hiccup. Bloomberg says you're staring at a potential $10 trillion global hit, which, I mean, that even dwarfs 2008 by an order of magnitude.
People keep talking about black swans. Well, a shock to Taiwan's chip industry is the definition. Investors who don't reevaluate risk after seeing those numbers honestly aren't paying attention.
So you put this all together, and what do we have? Volatility isn't a bug on the chart anymore. It's basically the new normal. The oil price premium lives at 60, 65 bucks a barrel, not just because of OPEC, but because of kinetic risk and shipping scarcity. The marinara play, the Venezuela standoff, takes a chunk of the oil fleet out of play. That props up costs for everybody else.
Right, and don't sleep on transport costs. Scarcity across tankers, shadow fleets, it's remaking the economics of global trade. Your margins for error are gone. Plus, you've got TSMC hiking prices by up to 10% just for baseline security premiums. Compute costs now price in insurance against chaos.
That's what secular volatility really means. Risk is structural, not cyclical. If you're building portfolios or supply chains, assuming calm seas, you're going to get capsized.
And that brings us to the hard truth. There's no global commons anymore. Control flows to the one who can project power, whether over shipping lanes, energy, or data pipes. Everything's become a contested choke point. Back in 2019, I pointed this out. Colleagues called me a cynic. What I was really saying was these fragile frontiers are now permanent features. Investors ignore them now at their own peril.
Yeah, it's not just charts and headlines. The convergence of chip dominance, defense spending, and targeted use of force rewires the whole investment mindset. Uncertainty's not going away anytime soon, which, well, it keeps us busy, doesn't it, Dad?
Busy is one word for it, Josh. As always, thanks for keeping me somewhat honest. And thanks to everyone listening. You know this story will keep unfolding, probably faster than we'd like.
Yeah, appreciate you all tuning in to Intelligent Investor Insights. Bob, always a pleasure to get your, let's call it, unvarnished perspective. We'll see everyone next time.
Until next time, take care.
Thanks for joining Joshua and Robert on Intelligent Investor Insights. If today's discussion raised questions about your portfolio strategy, risk exposure, or how to navigate this late-cycle environment, we invite you to connect with us. We work directly with investors who want data-driven guidance, institutional-level analysis, and a partner in building durable wealth. Reach out to start the conversation and take the next step toward becoming a more informed, confident, and resilient investor. Until next time, stay rational, stay disciplined, and invest with intelligence.